Are you ready to embrace a healthier, more vibrant life? Look no further than With Joy, a transformative movement and nutrition program that goes beyond the ordinary. With Joy is not just a program, it's a movement. We believe that true wellness encompasses mind, body, and spirit. Our approach is rooted in compassion care, tailored to each individual. We're here to elevate you to a place of health, wellness, and healing. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting your fitness journey, we've got something for you. Our comprehensive programs include strength, mobility, endurance, and conditioning to elevate your fitness, recovery and recuperation for healing, and nutrition wellness plans to fuel your body for optimal performance. Check out our show notes for more information and links to our programs. Join the With Joy movement today and discover a whole new way to thrive.
Hi, I'm Joy Han Silva.
And I'm Laura Han Segundo Collins.
And welcome to Hahnacity.
Hey! Welcome back. Joy's back in New York.
So exciting.
We're still working on her to come here forever.
You got to work on another person too, though.
We're working on her boo to also come here. Forever. We did a pretty good job, I think, to set some tones. I believe.
Yeah, you like Brooklyn a lot. We were walking back to your apartment today.
Mm-hmm.
We had breakfast and then we walked back to your apartment and he stopped at like a realtor office space. He was just looking at like how much things were like cost in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I want to live in the same building as Laura, though.
Yeah, Laura wants that too. Laura wants that
dreams,
too.
big dreams.
Big dreams, and we should dream big. Yeah, we should dream big dreams. That's good. Well, what an amazing show we have today. We have our dear friend, Blake Palmquist, here with us today.
Blake.
Should I read his bio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Our friend, Blake Palmquist, originally from Bozeman, Montana, began playing soccer at a young age, quickly excelling at high-level soccer up to the collegiate level. As the world stopped in 2020, Blake pursued and achieved his dream of playing professionally in Valencia, Spain. However, the journey to his professional goal contained 22 years of severe anxiety, stress, depression, and other obstacles that caused him to shorten his realized dream. Blake shared that upon return from Spain, he felt lost and had to find who he was again. He then found his new mission to advocate for mental health, share his stories with others through his blog Intra, it's really, really good, and join Athletes for Hope, a community driven to provide athletes with resources to make a difference in the world. Blake is a co-chair of the Athlete Advisory Committee for the Athlete Mental Health Alliance through Athletes for Hope, and he aims to spark change, provide support, hope, and reassure others it's okay to share your story. Without further ado, Blake. Welcome, Blake.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited.
We're so honored and excited to have you with us today. Thank you for taking the time.
So we just wanted to start. Where does your story begin, Blake?
Yeah, definitely. So, for me, I'm from not small anymore, but Bozeman, Montana. Growing up, not many people knew much about Montana. But from a young age, I found soccer as a sport as a little kid and, got very integrated into that at a young age and just really fell in love with it and found myself throughout, my childhood, playing with my friends. And as I slowly grew up, I found myself competing on higher level teams, into high school, into college, and then further on in my life. But I think for me, it really stems from my parents allowing me to, get into a sport that I felt comfortable with, and soccer was one of those things. I tried tackle football. That did not go well. Yeah, and I didn't have some great experiences there. That was one of those things where, soccer is one of the world's biggest sports, but even
Yeah.
with American football, it was, still disrespected and, things like that. And it's
Sure.
definitely better now. But yeah, so, started of course when I was young and just kept with it all the way, through life. So
Yeah. So, Laura and I were both high level gymnasts. Sounds like you were a high level soccer player. When you were a young boy, was it pretty obvious that you had a supernatural talent? Like we talk about extraordinary kids in a lot of ways. Like it's really hard for me and Laura when we were athletes to think that we were extraordinary, mainly because the goal that we had set didn't come into fruition. And it was one of those things where it took a while for us in our healing process to acknowledge that no, we were exceptional athletes. And so when you were a young boy going all the way up to college, there had to be some sort of special talent that you had. Was there somebody who recognized that at a really early age? Or did you know, like from the get go, like, I love this sport and there's something that I feel in myself that I am different from the kids that I am playing against?
yeah, definitely. I think from a young age, my coaches and my parents saw I was very determined, but I also I enjoyed playing. Like I didn't worry about what else was going on around me. And I love playing, I used to always say, and my mom still uses this phrase to, get me going when I'm down or something, but I always used to say, like, I have this spark in me. I have this spark that um, differentiated me from other players, other people. And that spark allowed me to make myself stand out. The thing that I went through is I was very small for my age when I was younger. So technically, so like when I talk about technically, like very good with your feet, with the ball, dribbling, things like that. I was very good with that, and I was quick. I was fast, but because of my size, it didn't matter. I would get bumped off the ball easily if I, touched the ball too far in front of me, and so I would get into these tryouts, and coaches would be like, "Oh yeah, he's a great player. He's a great player. He stands out, but he can't compete physically." So I would find myself in all these, great tryout situations where I would either get invited, like I said, or I would be put on the bench. And then when the team was up like 4-0 or something, then they would put me in. Um, and so I think other than that, it was really just the determination and the spark part. Um, and I think that has definitely evolved throughout my career. Um, but I would definitely say as a younger kid, I had that determination and that joy, that spark of just playing and kind of like that flow state where you don't care what, is going on around you. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. What did you like about soccer when you think about that growing up in it?
I think for me, it's the ability to express yourself. There's not one player in the world. I mean, for any sport that you're in, but like especially soccer, there's not one player that is exactly the same. Everybody has a different playing style, how they pass the ball, how they shoot the ball, how they dribble. And so it's a time for you to just be creative, be passionate about what you do. And I mean, you talk to high level scouts and they say the best way for you to get on a high level team is for you to just be yourself, be creative, to experiment, to try new things. And I think that's really what I loved about it. But I think it was also my team, a couple of the teams that I was on, it felt like family to me, and I felt very close to them. So it wasn't just like they were friends, it was like extra brothers that
Yeah.
we would always hang out with outside of soccer, and we could just chill. It didn't always have to be within the sport itself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's being able to express yourself, it's being connected to family, community. Sounds like a lot of support, a lot of love.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the other thing that's cool about soccer and plenty of other sports as well, is that it's a universal language.
Mm.
So for
Yeah.
example, like
Yeah.
when I was over in Spain, even though I knew like the very minimal basics of Spanish, like good morning, good afternoon, hi, how are you? My name
Yeah.
is. When I got to like my first training session with the club that I was playing for, the assistant coach was the only person that spoke a little bit of English. Everybody else knew like a couple terms, but not enough to help me out throughout the training session or any of the games.
Mm.
But because soccer has this way of allowing you to communicate when you have the ball or when you don't have the ball. It's like signals. If
Yeah.
somebody moves in a certain way on the field or passes the ball, and you've been playing the game long enough, you just know what's going to happen. So that helped me a lot. It's just amazing what the game itself brings. People are so passionate about it over there, over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Go ahead.
You go first. I feel like you have a question.
Oh, I was just going to ask, like, we think about when we were growing up, we have these gymnastics idols and people that we try to emulate. And in doing so, you sort of create your own personality. Who were some of the players that inspired you as you were on your journey to find your own personality as an athlete?
Yeah, definitely. It's a good question. I was probably similar with a lot of little kids. I looked up to Ronaldo and Messi. Another one that I looked up to, it's this club in England. They're called Chelsea. But his name was Frank Lampard.
Mhm.
And I think mainly the reason why I liked him so much is because he was very content with himself. He was very confident on the field. He knew what he was doing, and he was creative.
Mhm.
Uh, so, it was a mix between him and Lionel Messi, Ronaldo, um, kind of bandwagoner, a little bit, but yeah, those guys, I mean, even if you like one more than the other, there's these qualities about them that just make you want to be like them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you can see that.
Mhm. So you're saying not even playing style, but also about their character, about their air, their confidence, the way they carry themselves too.
Yeah, definitely. So like Ronaldo, this demeanor about him, he's very upfront. Like he's not afraid to show his personality, to speak, his voice about what he thinks about a game, a call, a foul, or something.
Mhm.
Lionel Messi is a little more conservative. He's a little more reserved, and he doesn't talk as much. All the talking is from how he plays.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and Ronaldo is the same, but they're two completely different personalities.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's crazy.
What were you like?
Um, my personality changed throughout my athletic career. I would definitely say when I was younger, I was more outgoing. And then as time went on and I got into high school, college, and professionally, it became more reserved. Um, obviously the mental health played a big part of that. Um, I got into some difficult situations within high school and then college, just because the level and expectations got, way higher. And I thought personally that I had to act more serious, I guess, in order to achieve what I wanted, which now looking back, that wasn't even the case. So I, and I've taken some time to reflect about it. And I actually think that if I would have just been more myself, been more just this loose guy and, less reserved, I would have done a little better. But,
Yeah.
You can only learn from it,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Blake, I have a question about that, and feel free to say, only talk about what you are comfortable at sharing. Laura and I in our story, we talk about like the culture of gymnastics being a pretty toxic culture, and that's when our personality shifted. It wasn't necessarily us as children, like thinking that it was almost like the culture influenced that seriousness for us. It wasn't like it was like sort of like in order for you to be a great athlete, you had to be serious because the culture sort of promoted that. And I think if the culture was more nurturing and more loving and the coaches that we had were more about whole person care, that probably would have nurtured a different outcome for us, where gymnastics would have had a positive impact in our later careers. Was that very similar with your experience with soccer, or was it like an internal pressure that you had on yourself?
Yeah, I think it was a mix of both. I I've always had trouble with anxiety, stress, and depression my whole life.
Yeah.
Even when I was 8, I had troubles with eating. I didn't like to eat a lot. I would actually look at the labels a lot.
Mm.
And so just from that, and even to what people thought about me. So you mix that with a mixture of coaches I had. Some were different, some were a lot more, caring. If you need to take a day off, you're not feeling well, do what's best for yourself. Then you would have the other coaches where it's say, okay, well, if you take a couple days off, I can't let you play or start in a game. It's um, which I mean makes a little sense because you miss a couple of days, but for me, my mental health is, it's
Yeah.
important to me. And if I can
Right.
get that 3 days and I come back better than I was the day before I left, you know, but yeah, so like I was saying in the high school and college years, and actually even into the semi-pro professional years, I definitely had a mix of those. And the cultures in those related to team environment were actually toxic.
Mm.
So, especially in high school, I had teammates who I thought were my friends and
Mm.
were like family. But as I got out of it and, high school soccer started to slow down, I was wrong. I would find that they were talking behind my back,
Mm.
that they would jokingly make fun of me because I'm a very sensitive person and
Mhm.
I'm very good with my emotions and I'm, very empathetic. And I found that they were taking advantage of that.
Mm.
So as I got into college, I found better friends, better teammates, but our team culture still it was toxic because not everybody got along together. And
Yeah.
then our coach on top of that, nobody really respected him. And he kind of
Yeah.
he would bring in a couple other ideas that, people didn't really agree with. So the whole thing was like a mixing pot basically. We
Sure.
never really knew what was going to happen. Um, and so that was a little
Yeah.
interesting. And then once I got into Spain, it was a little better. And for me, honestly, for me, it was kind of hard to tell if they were angry at each other or they were just very passionate.
Mm.
That's the
Mhm.
problem is
Mhm.
Spaniards are very passionate about the game
Yeah.
over there. But I unfortunately would say that a lot of my older playing years, I dealt with just every single team was a toxic environment. I wasn't a part of a team where I fell in place. The players respected me, even if I was doing well, playing well. Um, same with the coaches too. They had their own other agenda, and I get they have a lot to think about scheduling games, film, things like that. But the health of your players is your priority. If you don't have players, you don't have gymnasts, you can't do what you're trying to do as a coach. It's
Right.
impossible
Yeah. Right. Right.
unless you do it yourself, but that just
Yeah.
doesn't work.
I mean,
So,
the talk of like mental health is sort of like this novelty still in sports about
Yeah.
like making sure that athletes are taken care of in that capacity. And, I know that this is something that you're truly passionate about. But I guess like my question too is, you talked about being a really sensitive guy growing up, and I was a really sensitive kid too. Like I was very in touch with my emotions, a lot of crying, and just was really connected to those things. And I guess the question would be, growing up as a boy, being really in touch with your emotions and your sensitivity, do you think that had um a role with your gender, or do you think it was just that you were sensitive? Because male toxicity is something that isn't You know, that's like a huge thing that's not really talked about either, about men being able to lean into your emotions. And I think it's been sort of a new conversation within the past couple of years, even of being able to do that as a man. I guess as a little boy, maybe that wasn't something to your awareness, but like in hindsight, looking back, do you feel like that had an aspect to sort of the disconnect that you felt with your teammates or your coaches?
I think it did a little bit. Because even as a little kid growing up, and social media wasn't obviously what it is now.
Yeah.
So, but even what I would do is I would always watch YouTube videos of like Lionel Messi, Ronaldo, all these players, and you only saw the positive side of things.
Yeah.
You never see the downfalls. You never see anybody crying or but for me there was definitely this disconnect between should I share how I'm feeling, but also at the same time I didn't know how I was feeling, what I should share, when I should share it, was it appropriate to, you know, and I don't think, my parents were amazing and had nothing to do with, pounding this idea that I couldn't share my emotions.
Yeah.
No way ever did they say anything in the realm of that. But if you have external influences like other friends that I had where, they would judge me, like I said, or talk behind my back about it, then that makes you rethink what you should do. And then you don't want to do it again. So they don't talk about you. So, and same goes for coaches too. If you share something, they think you're weak.
Yeah.
So I think from the age of 8 to 13, I didn't know what my emotions were. I didn't know how or when I should share them, like I said. And then once I got into high school, I didn't want to share them with anybody because I thought they would judge me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same into college. I just, kept pushing them down. And my whole personality actually became reserved and shy.
Wow.
Today, it still kind of is. I'm not nearly what I used to be.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's a little saddening.
Yeah.
And I'm getting better at it, but it's like, it's taken so many years to realize that I don't have to push things down.
Yeah.
I don't care what other people think now. Like, I don't care just openly talking about how I feel and what I went through. And it's crazy because when I tell people about, working with Athletes for Hope or, doing stuff like this and talking openly about it, they're just like, oh, wow, I'm amazed that you're okay with opening up about, talking about this. And even the
Yeah.
people that are talking to you about it, it's like, that's a problem if you have to compliment me on that. I mean, I get it's not something you just openly share, but that's not, you know what I mean? So it's just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I do think it definitely played a role as a young boy. And it's definitely gotten better, but you still don't see nearly as many men opening up about it. And I think it's just that whole voice needs to be elevated.
Mhm.
No matter who you are, your background, how sport you play, anything. So
Yeah.
Definitely.
Ashwa is a performance wellness program dedicated to helping athletes achieve peak performance and personal fulfillment through innovative approaches focusing on neuromuscular regeneration, re-education, and retention. Ashwa empowers athletes to find balance in mind, body, and emotions. Check out the links in our show notes for additional information about Ashwa and how they can support you in your journey.
Being able to talk about it sounds like it was a huge shift. You contained it for a long time. We're pushing it down. We're trying to survive an environment that is not welcoming and in fact is harming. If you express yourself, it is going to come back at you in some way. So to go for that long, what shifted for you? Say what you're comfortable with. What shifted for you to go from that to, I'm going to be vocal now and I'm going to start sharing. That's a big shift. It's very brave.
yeah, and I mean, so it was actually when I was in Spain, And I'd had thoughts about this before because I played semi-pro down in Alabama a little bit, and I didn't have the best of experiences there. And I should have worked on myself a little more before I went over. But the last week that I was in Spain, going through a lot of just being alone with myself, my thoughts, my ideas, and my emotions, not having the greatest of times, even though I was in this completely different country doing what I love to do, or at least I thought I did. I realized that I had the picture completely wrong. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I totally forced myself to do all of this because I had told so many people that, okay, one day I'm going to be a professional soccer player,
No.
which I really wanted.
Yeah.
But I learned that the enjoyment was just, it was fading. It was going away, and it was causing much more stress, anxiety, and depression than I wanted it to. And at the same time, I think all of the emotions built up from like high school, college, that the judgment, things like that just completely overtook my head. And it wasn't like bad at all, but it was, for a second, it was like, oh, why should I even be here? Why should I be on this earth? I tell so many people about this, and I can't do it. I was ashamed.
Mm.
I wanted to go back, but at the same time, I didn't want to because I told so many people. And so that kind of made me realize, I was like, but I don't have to be here. I can go back. I can do something different. It's going to be ridiculously hard and scary, but I have my parents who care about me, family, friends. So I think just all those emotions building up at once, and then over the course of that week, kind of just turned it totally just took me over. And within a matter of, I think it was like 3 days, I'd called my parents, and I was crying. I had panic attacks, and I needed to come home. So, and they were super supportive about it. And I think it was actually the best thing I could have done.
Mhm.
I think if I had forced myself to continue playing, I would have just made things worse.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
which, I would have loved to. Um, but it's just, I wanted something new. I'd been working so hard for my whole life. It was all I knew.
Yeah.
So that's ultimately what made me click about it.
Yeah. And it's okay to get to that point of, I like to say the both and. We can both love our sports and know that we've come to an end of a journey with that chapter of our lives as a sport, so to speak. Um, so on that note, going from there to now being a co-chair on the athlete advisory committee for Athlete Mental Health Alliance, how did you find your way there, Athletes for Hope?
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, some context might help a little bit. So after I got back from Spain, actually, while I was in Spain and I was going through that period of time, I started to think, I don't want anybody to ever go through something like this again. This was just terrible. I hate feeling this way. So I had this idea to start a podcast about, mental health and athletics. Um, and so I kind of put that aside, moved back to Bozeman, Montana, was living with my parents for a little bit. And then I was using that time to find myself again, my identity. And then I actually got into changing that podcast idea into a blog. So and that blog is now called Intra. And I got the name Intra because it's the Latin prefix for within. So, we internalize mental health, things like that. But then I was trying to find, some organizations that may be good to go off of, be a part of, because I can only do so much. But if I can be a part of an organization that's already developed, that already has a bigger platform for me to express my voice,
Mhm.
that could help me a lot. even advocate for others. I literally was just searching, Googling, and I found Athletes for Hope. Saw that Mia Hamm was a founder of the
Mm, yeah.
organization. I think it was Muhammad Ali was another one. I can't remember. There's a ton of other ones, but I loved what they were doing. They had the whole being ambassador program. And I think I initially wanted to join one of their programs. I can't remember what it was. But then they started this whole committee thing. So I joined that, and then I really liked what they were doing. And then there was this opportunity to be a co-chair. And so they were looking for co-chairs.
Mm,
Like, well, here's your opportunity. Like, you should.
yeah.
I was like pushing myself towards it,
Good
and
for you.
yeah, so I took it, and I met Caitlin, and yeah, it's been amazing. It sounds super cheesy to and say like it's been a big part of my life, because it has. It's been, now we have this podcast that the committee has created, and I feel I've achieved haven't fully achieved my goal, but I'm on my way to working towards what I wanted to when I got back from Spain. It's being a part of a community, advocating for others so they don't have to go through what I went through, and just, showing that I support everybody out there. It's okay to feel how you feel.
Yeah.
Don't compare yourself to others. I heard this quote the other day that comparison is the thief of joy. It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it's been great. And yeah, I hope I can stay a part of it for a while.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Blake. This season we're talking about athlete in the lifespan, right? And like, my question for you is, how has athlete evolved from you from the time you were a little boy to who you are now? Because you are still an athlete, you're working with athletes. What does athlete mean to you now?
Yeah, I think obviously it depends on the person, but from my perspective, it's about adapting to a new lifestyle, because as you get older, you're not the same. You're gonna grow older, you're gonna get more experience, but you're also gonna realize that the type of athlete you are is gonna change. So for me, it went from I'm an athlete to, playing the sport and, expressing myself in this way on the pitch, on the field, or wherever. But now, and actually after that, I did some coaching. So then it went to I'm still an athlete, just in a different way. I'm still on the pitch. I'm still helping athletes, but just giving a little more coaching, guidance, things like that. And then now with Athletes for Hope, um, it's more advocating. So it's a lot of different qualities and characteristics that you gain and you learn from. And it's being able to learn and adapt in different environments. Just because you're not on the field doesn't mean you're not an athlete.
Yeah.
Always going to be an athlete.
100%.
You can take the skills that you've developed over time and you can apply them to different areas of your life.
Yeah.
So
Would you say now you can wear athlete proudly?
So if I'm going to be honest,
Yeah.
I'm going to say I think I can. I am personally still working on it, just because I'm still trying to find my identity still after sports. Because this new professional lifestyle, it's a little daunting to me, because training, coaching, or doing more athletic oriented stuff was all I knew.
Yeah.
And so now this more professional lifestyle is I don't want to say I'm scared. I'm just nervous. So
Yeah.
But I am proud to say that I have improved in my thought process, and becoming more in tune with my emotions and what I need to do to allow them to just be out there, to share with who I am, what I went through. So I think from that perspective, I would say, yeah.
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 Oh, and it's amazing. We'll definitely be putting your blog, Intra, into the show notes with Athletes for Hope as well. Your writing is sensational, and it really just speaks to, I think, everybody. But you and the fabulous Caitlin Lyle, hi Caitlin. It's a space that all of us can just be ourselves. And I think the last conversation was about, we're still trying to figure out how to be okay and saying things out loud, and being able to have people who could bear witness in such love and care and camaraderie is life-changing. And it's such a healing space to be around. So I really credit you and Caitlin for creating that space for all of us. And I thank you so, so much. You all kick ass.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, I hope as we, go on in the future, people realize that, like we keep saying, that it is okay. And it's just, to me, it's just so frustrating to see that people will still get judged for sharing how they feel.
Yeah.
And it's even more frustrating when people joke about it, because it's not funny, because so many people, I mean, we have a mental health crisis right now. And so I really hope that people will take initiative and just experiment a little. I think that's the biggest thing, is just experiment, take step by step. It doesn't have to be this big thing, but just experiment, put yourself out there, so.
Yeah. Totally.
I think that that's something that I have even learned in this journey with Laura, is that we also were really afraid to come out with our own story and share our stories even with each other. Like, we have a very similar story, went through the same experiences, we're best friends and cousins, and it wasn't until last year that we even shared our story with each other. And it does take a lot of courage, to come out and say your story. But also, I think the thing is we think that we're suffering in solitude, that it's like a lonely story, and I understand there's like the fear of being judged and the fear of the backlash and getting gaslit and all that stuff. But there's also, what we have learned through this process is there's also an amazing community there for you, and you find your people. You find your family, and you find your community that helps you through those things. And what you thought was going to be a lonely journey becomes a very unconditionally, like, it's just like the unconditional love that comes with that, like, is insurmountable. Like, it's the people that have come in our corner within the past year has been now like lifelong friends. Like, it's this bond that you have. And there's something specific with athletes. It's like so strange. Like, you're a soccer player, we were gymnasts, but there is this like soul connection already, that our stories are so similar yet so different, and it's like this understanding of going through that high intensity and that competitiveness and that high intense training, but in reality, what I think is the thing that withholds people from sharing their stories, they think that they're alone, and ultimately you're not. And hopefully by sharing your story, you've helped people know that they are not alone in this, and that they do deserve a platform, because stories are important, and they're important to hear anyone's story. You don't have to be somebody who made the top of the top, and that people can connect with any story. And so, yeah, we thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, because it's important, and we believe these types of stories need to be amplified, because people will connect with it.
And I think it's a commentary on sports culture, that we all were in one way, but one style, one trick pony style of sports culture for so long. And I think what we're seeing now is we actually have the superpower of being a variety. There's the one style isn't for everybody. And actually, I'm so excited to see how sports is going to evolve now that we are getting in tune and in touch with pieces that have not been available, have been suppressed. But who knows, maybe it's actually going to be a superpower for future athletes that they can connect into, and that can actually be a bolster to their talents on the field or in the gym or on a diving board or whatever. So, I'm glad that we're all in this together, and we are shifting sports culture one story at a time. Sure.
Definitely.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you
Um,
for having me. And I always love sharing my story. And I certainly hope it helps other people understand that, it is okay to share how you're
Yeah.
feeling. Doesn't matter who you are, background, as we've talked about many times. And so thank you again. And it was fun.
Awesome. Sorry, I don't know if you heard the sirens that was like taking me off. It's New York
Oh, no.
City. Okay. We're at the end. We've been ending our episodes with something really fun called the lightning discuss moment.
Okay.
It's a little game that my partner and I made up some years ago. Joy has played it. We play it.
We actually played it last
We played
night.
it last night, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be a statement or a question. And then we're going to say discuss, and everyone's going to answer. Be quick. Don't think too hard about it. There's no debating it. Everyone's just going to share an answer.
No
What-
wrong answers.
No wrong answers.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Want to play?
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. If you were on a deserted island with one meal, one album, and one book, what would they be? Discuss.
Chicken and pasta.
Mm-hmm.
Maze Runner. The book.
Mm-hmm. Good one.
And album. Oh, that's so tough. And I'm gonna have to go with. I don't even know. I'm just gonna go with a rapper that I listen to. I'm gonna go with Travis Scott.
Nice.
There's other
Good
ones
one.
out there that are better, but
Oh, good.
Awesome. How about you, Joy?
My meal would be this kimchi stew. It's called kimchi jjigae.
Very
my
classic
favorite meal. And then my book, I really loved To Kill a Mockingbird when I was in high school. That's one of my favorite books. And then for album, this is gonna age me, Blake. But I think it's TLC Sexy Crazy Cool.
That's a good one.
That was like in the 90s.
That's a really good one. That's really good. I would be, what did I say? Oh gosh, I have the wrong, not prime rib. What's the one that,
Bone in T-bone.
no, not T-bone.
Brisket.
No, crap. Ribeye. Bone in, ribeye.
okay.
Crust on the outside, medium rare. The inside would be my meal. My book would be my favorite, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. And my album, this is hard. Last night was Olaf or Arnold's, but I think today would be Bjork.
Ooh,
I
nice.
changed my album.
Yeah.
The Police.
Oh, good one.
That's
Excellent.
awesome. That's great.
Love
Yeah,
Nice.
I like that. Well done.
Well, thank you so much, Blake. Thank you for you and everything you've done and sharing your story. We appreciate you so much, and we're so glad to call you community.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Well, another amazing interview. We are so
Yeah.
lucky to be meeting so many incredible people, Joy.
I know. And from all different backgrounds, all different sports, just getting a wealth of like perspectives here, which is really cool about this season. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not just one story, but it's multiple. And this was sort of like the heart of Hahnacity, was talking about these types of stories. So I love that we get an opportunity to share
Yeah,
their
absolutely.
Blake story, all these wonderful human being stories.
Yeah. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
So, Joy,
I know.
we're really excited about the next one. Do you want to
I'm
tell
like
them about who we're
excited to
gonna
tell
chat-
people because it's sort of like pinch me moment, right?
Yeah.
Because we're so fortunate to have this individual come talk to us, but it's also kind of cool to say that this person is now our friend. I
Yeah.
think that's been sort of just an amazing experience for the two of us on this journey. But next week, we get to interview our childhood hero, the phenomenal, talented Sabrina Marr. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm stoked.
First Asian American senior national champion in history.
in history.
And it'll be 2 parts. So we'll have part
Yeah.
1 coming up next week. Part 2 comes up the week after. And
Yeah.
it is just it's going to be an incredible conversation.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so like incredibly grateful that she is going to go and be on our podcasts this week
Yeah.
or next week.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
you two, you two will be together.
I know she's coming over. She's coming
What?
over to my house. What? So cool.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure y'all out there who are listening in, I mean, there's got to be somebody that makes you get really giddy and excited about. That is Sabrina for us.
Mhm.
And it's really cool. It is really cool because she's so down to earth and kick-ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. Anyways,
Anyway.
I love you.
I love you more.
I love you most.
Hi. I still love you most.
That's not true. It's a tie. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, please reach out to us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok.
Share and follow us on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. Help us out and leave a 5-star review. Thanks.